I'm Natalie, this is Gitlip, and today I'm going to show you repos and editors. So this is my Gitlip dashboard and it shows you all of my current repos. I'm going to create a new repo by pressing Add in the top right hand corner. So the difference between repos and editors, I'm going to use the analogy of a library and a desk. So a library, in this case the repo, instead of storing books, we're storing different versions of our code. And the editor in this analogy is the desk. So it's not where we're storing things, it's the space where we make the changes or make the edits that we then store in the repo. So I'm going to create a new repo. I'm going to call it Git repo because I'm not feeling very inventive, and press create. So Git repository is where your code lives, and it tracks the changes to your code over time. So you can see that this Git repo is empty, so I'm going to create a new editor. So I'm going to do this by pressing edit in the top right. And now we're in a collaborative editor. This is connected to our repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on the right hand side the repo. So then you can see kind of side by side the relationship between the two. Okay, so now we have the two tabs open. Let's create some files. So we can create files manually. I'm going to jump straight into using AI to produce some files. So I'm going to press the Sparkles button because Sparkles is AI. And I'm going to start off, we've got model GPT 4.1 mini, and I'm going to target file kind of readme.md. And I'm going to ask it to write a detailed explanation of circular motion. This is the sort of thing I get up to in my spare time. And I'm going to tell it to use math. So I'll press apply. And then let's see what gets created. So at the moment, you can see that the AI's response is being streamed. In a sense, we're letting it cook. Okay, it's cooking. Brilliant. So now that's done, let's see the markup. So this is how the code for that readme.md looks. And just for reference, this kind of whiteboard button, that's the preview, but I'm going to stick for the code tab for the time being. So now we're going to commit these changes. And committing changes is like pressing save game for your code. It's like creating a snapshot in time for this version of the code. So I'll press commit in the top right, and it's going to generate something called a diff. So a diff is kind of like the difference between the before and after of our code. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to press this check mark, and then I'm going to use AI by pressing the Sparkles button to write a commit message, which is a description of my code changes. Press commit, and then you'll see on the right-hand side that these changes are now showing in the repo also. So now I'll go back to my files in the editor, and I think it would be nice if we generated a drawing for my README. So I'll press Sparkles again, and this time I'm going to draw an image.svg, and I'll say draw a physics illustration of circular motion. So then if I go in my image.svg, you'll see again that the AI response is being streamed, kind of we'll let it cook. So the results aren't perfect, but I think they'll suffice for this example. So if I go back to my readme.md, press this button to go into the kind of code mode, I'm going to include that image that we've just made in our readme.md. So I'll write the kind of correct syntax to include it. And then if I press this kind of whiteboard button, you'll see the preview, and you'll see that the image has been populated into my README. And while I've been doing this, I kind of thought it would be fun if I could translate my README, because why not? So I'll type in translate into Spanish, press apply, and then we can see it's being translated, so it's now cocinando. But okay. So I'll just let it cocinar. Cool. So I'm going to commit these changes. So then it's generating a diff. So again, the kind of before and after of my code changes. I'll press the check mark again, and I'll write the commit message using AI. And then after committing, you can see that on the right-hand side, the repo has updated with my committed changes. And sort of the final thing I want to show you is if you press this history button, you'll see that I can view the history of the repo, and you'll see that I have 2 commits. So if I press on the first previous commit, I can rewind to the past and see how my code looked way back then. And that was Repos and Editors. Thanks for being here.